Okay, so here's the thing that you do. There is some activity in your life about which you can say, man, I really wish I did this again, or I should really start doing X again. So versions of that are, man, I should really start painting again, or I really wish I was still running, or I really wish I devoted more of my time to watching The Wire. Whatever it is. There's something that you used to do that you miss. For the sake of our conversation, let's keep it to something that makes your life better if you do it. So as enriching as The Wire is, in general, watching 7 seasons of anything is maybe not the most productive use of your time. So especially if you have some other thing that you wish you were doing, like running or cooking or painting or playing guitar or whatever that might be, video blogging. So the way that we typically pitch this kind of problem is that we lack motivation. There's something wrong with us. We're lazy and we lack the motivation to do it, or we procrastinate. And I would argue the reason that you do that is because once upon a time when you did do that thing, both your priorities and the way that you would arrange your life, they worked differently. They could allow for you to spend 8 or more hours a week painting, let's say. Your life was arranged that way. It could be that you have the energy of a 25-year-old, or it could be that you didn't really have a real job and you could make ends meet working part-time, and it allowed all this time for you to do painting. But then over time, things happen. Maybe you need more money. Maybe you've got yourself into debt and you have to work 3 jobs. Maybe you have an actual career. Maybe you have kids. Any number of things. But essentially, like, the whole entire context of your life has changed. And now you can't do this thing. I've just walked myself into a dead end here. All right, so let's turn it around. Okay, so how do you get back to doing those things? Like, what can you do to make that thing a reality again? I actually think the process is fairly simple, but it requires a mind shift. And I guess that's like the process that's true of anything. So the reason you don't do that thing anymore, right? The context isn't there for you to do it. And maybe, what else would be missing? There's the context, and then there's the motivation, or you just have other priorities. So the idea of, the idea of painting for 8 hours a week, it just doesn't seem to fit with the responsibilities of being a parent. I am 100% not about to judge that. So, assuming that you actually want to start doing that thing again, and assuming instead of you being lazy that your procrastination on doing it is actually a symptom of something, and that symptom is no one in their right mind wants to start doing more hard work. No one sits around and says like, oh, wouldn't it be sick if I had some other stressful thing to add to my life? Instead, you want to find, in whatever free time you have, you want to do fun things. Or maybe you want to do mindless things, but you definitely are not sitting around trying to think about how to add more work to your life. So, the trap that happens is you have this fantasy that at some point a whole bunch of time will free up and you'll have your 2, 6, 20 hours a week that you need to start painting again. Assume that that is not going to happen. Assume that your kids will grow up and go to school and be juvenile delinquents, and instead of spending all this time caring for them at home, you'll be constantly bailing them out or something. Don't assume this sort of picture perfect idea that once your kids can take care of themselves better, your life will kind of revert to a previous state. It absolutely will not. So fantasizing about when you're going to have all this free time again, it's not going to happen. I mean, if you're lucky, you'll be 62, you can actually retire. and you actually have your health, then yes, maybe there's a possibility, however slim, that that might work out. But you want to start painting now, and you feel bad about painting now. And so this is the recipe I have for you to get back on the creative horse. The first thing is to look at the time that you actually have that could be qualified as like dead time. So don't look at when do I have time to paint. You don't have time to paint, because if you did, you'd paint. Instead, look for where do I have time that's kind of dead and or wasted, and is in a context where, actually don't even look at context, just look at where you have dead time. For me, I have quote unquote dead time over my lunch break so I can record video blogs. I have dead time in my commute so I can work on talks for my classes, or I can rap. I have dead time usually on a Sunday morning before my house gets going, and I can take photos on my stoop. Those are like these moments of dead time that I have that are usable for me, and I have ways of working with them. So you look at where are all the times you have dead time, and where are things that you're doing that maybe you don't need to be doing. Like, can you afford to take back the time it takes you to do your laundry? You know, can you afford to $20 a week to have your laundry done? Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but that's the point. Or what are you doing when the laundry's in the dryer? Is that time open? Like, how do you use it? The other one to look at is where can you simply shift in activity by a little bit? Depending on what you're doing, you could leave your house 10 minutes earlier, or you could do something like, if you're a pretty hardcore Netflix watcher, can you push back the time you start watching your whatever show you're watching? Can you push that back 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Just do it a little bit later than you normally would. So you have all these chunks of time, and you're gonna think that those times aren't useful to you. The problem is that you're still in the paradigm of, in my old context, I needed 3 hours, 8 hours, whatever, to paint or to write music. But again, like, you don't have that. Your life has changed. That context is gone. That's all a fantasy now that you would have that. Here's the time you do have. Here's like the reality of your life. So you've got those chunks of time. Now, you can't work in them the way that you used to work in them. That's impossible. You can't take a 10-minute chunk of time before you watch Orange is the New Black and treat that like it was the 3 hours you used to have on a Wednesday night. They're not the same. They're not going to work the same. But assuming that you actually love this thing that you used to do, there are other ways that you can use it. So the first thing you have to do is you have to kind of let go of the old measures of quality and production. Quality and production? It's not the word I'm looking for. Perfection, maybe. You have to embrace, like, now you have this much time. So what can you do with that much time? Where and what work can you do in that dead time that you have? So if you want to paint and the dead time's in your house, that's actually not too bad, provided you kind of limit your materials and you have a sort of semi-permanent space set up. That might require you to work smaller than you used to work. That might require you to work in a way where, like, maybe you only keep a couple tubes of paint out at a time, just something. And essentially you want to use that time, that 10 minutes, say, let's do the TV one. I love the TV one because the TV becomes reward for doing the thing. So you squeeze out a little bit of paint, and you pick some kind of subject matter that's easy to work with, or no subject matter for that matter, and you set a timer. You paint for 10 minutes, and once you're done, you just stop. Don't push it for 15, don't push it for 20. You want to stop at 10 so that you're hungry to do more. So you stop at 10, quickly rinse those brushes off so you don't ruin them, and then sit down and watch your show and just be proud of yourself that you did that work. The reason you don't want to suddenly keep going for an hour is because we already know you don't have an hour's worth of time. The next day, same deal, 10 more minutes. In those 10 minutes, you're not going to be productive, right? Like 10 minutes at a time of painting for someone who hasn't painted in years, it's not going to be productive. But what it's going to add up to is 10 minutes of time that you genuinely enjoyed, and you're going to look forward to that time. And I promise you, you do that 10-minute interval regularly, repeatedly, and even better if you give yourself a reward. So for example, I got my Starbucks here. When I first started video blogging, the reward for doing it was that I got to have iced coffee. I do a thing now, I do it less than I used to. My reward for doing push-ups was that I got to go to the bathroom. So I would set a thing and I'd just be like, every time I go to the bathroom, before I go, I have to do 25 push-ups. And gradually that has effects and is productive and changes the way you look and the way you feel. Even if it's not super dramatically, you'll notice it. And you'll notice that you're painting 10 minutes a day. Like, you're gonna feel that. You're gonna find yourself thinking about painting and how badly you wanna paint. And if the 10 minutes is gonna turn into 15, it's gonna turn into 20, it's gonna turn into 25. And pretty soon it's gonna be like, oh, you know what? I don't need to watch Netflix every night. Netflix is going to change in priority. It's going to be under painting. And the real reason that is going to happen is not because you found your passion or because you found your priorities. It's because you took all the projectness out of painting, all the work and all the attachment to an outcome and all the beliefs that it takes 8 hours to make something. You strip that away and you have an activity that is joyful, that you get gratification from, that you never regret spending time on. It's that simple. That's the way to start doing things again. Deconstruct, it's like you nuke the guilt. You get rid of all the excuses because you're no longer living by the rules that establish those excuses. The time excuse doesn't matter because you no longer are believing that painting takes 3 hours. The quality stuff no longer matters because you believe that it's the enjoyment of the painting that matters. The quality stuff will come back. It always does. Once you do it for a while, you're going to give a shit and you're going to try harder. So, and you can apply this to other stuff. It's so easy. You want to start running? I mean, honestly, you don't even have to change into gym clothes, though you could do that. Just put a pair of shoes by the back door. When you walk in, change your shoes, run a half block, run a block, some short period, something that gets you to have that feeling of, oh shit, it feels good to run, or oh man, my lungs hurt, but that felt good. Do that 5 days in a row, your behaviors will start changing. You're creating an addiction. And the great thing about addictions is addictions tend to take priority over everything else in your life. So the challenge then is to create addictions that are productive, to where the whole thing of watching TV, it's not like you're going to sit there and feel guilty about watching TV and create some scenario of like, oh, I'm such a shitty person because I watch too much Netflix. You're not a shitty person. You're just enjoying yourself. And the problem is the productive things that you could do to make you enjoy your life, you've destroyed them. And that's why you watch TV more. And it's like, I'm sitting here, this video is long, it's 13 minutes. And I'm walking in the woods on the Mississippi River. I've got my iced coffee. It's cool out. This is like my favorite weather in the Midwest. It's like 60 and damp. This is enjoyable. It's not work. It's not a slog. It's not hard. I don't do second takes. I don't edit. I've done everything I can to nuke the excuses and just make it fun. You just have to apply that, and you have to let go of all the nonsense that's keeping you from making. The fact of the matter is, even if it were true that you needed a minimum of 2 hours to play guitar in order for it to be productive, you needed 2-hour sessions. So you believe that, great. It's not me, sorry, hit my head. It's not making you do that. So it's a pointless belief. It doesn't serve anything. Wouldn't you rather believe that you can play guitar in the funnest way possible And that's going to be 10 minutes before you watch Patriot, because everyone should watch Patriot. It's the greatest show ever. You're going to do your little typography exercise. 10 minutes. You know, you just take 10 minutes before you start working, and that's what you're going to do. And you're going to do it in a way that's fun. And you're going to just get rid of the belief that it's got to be good, it's got to take time, it's got to be important, that your content has got to be deep. Maybe your content is stupid. Maybe you're a stupid person. You know, maybe you don't take anything seriously. So why is it that you want everything to be serious? This is a long one. I hope it's helpful. I think I'm as guilty of this as anybody else. But I've also seen how using this thing of getting rid of projects, treating procrastination as a symptom, and instead looking at ways of working with reality, not against reality, can make you ultra productive. Like, I can look at the last week. I did a bunch of cool typography stuff. I took a bunch of pictures. I recorded 5 video blogs, 5 audio blogs, and I still went to work, and I teach, and I work a second job, and I hung out with my kids. It's not because I am disciplined, it's because I'm working with the reality of my context, and maybe that means I don't get to spend as much time on stuff as I want to or as I'd like to. Maybe I'd prefer that someone else held this damn camera for 15 minutes and not me, but whatever, that's life. All right, thanks a lot for watching. Make sure you subscribe already, okay?